colourful 8 by 10-inch enlargements, and the Srila Prabhupada saw one after another, and heard the descriptions from the secretary. He began to make long, low humming sounds, and tears came to his eyes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 5, Chapter 18, The Residents of Jambudvi Offer Prayers. It's text 9. Swasti, Astu, Vishvasya, Kala, Prasidatam, Swastyastu, Vishvasya, Kala, Prasidatam, Jayantu, Bhutani, Shivam, Mito, Diya, Jayantu Bhutani, Shivam Mito Diya, Manash, Cha, Badram, Bhajatad, Adhoksaja, Manasya Badram, Bhajatad, Adhoksaja, Aveshyatam no Matir Api Ahetuki Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Hetuki Swastiyastu Vishvasa Kala Prasaditam Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Manasya Badram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Hetuki Swastiyastu Vishvasa Kala Prasaditam Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Vanasya Badram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Ahetuki Swastiyastu Vishvasa Kala Prasaditam Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Manasya Badram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Hetuki
Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Ashtabadram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Manashvadram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Hetuki Swasyastu Vishvasya Kala Prasidatam
Vishvasya Kala Prasidatam
Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya
Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya
Manashtabadram Bhajatad Adhoksaja
Manasya Badram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Hetuki
Swastiyastu Vishvasya Kala Prasaditam
Swastiyastu Vishvasya Kala Prasidatam
Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya
Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Manasya Badram Bhajatad Adhoksaja Aveshyatam no Mate Apya Hetuki Ladies. Swastashtishvishvasya kala prasidatam. Yanti bhutani shivam mito diya. Manasya vadram bhajata dadhoksaja. Avashyatam no matir apyavataki. Swasti, auspiciousness. Astu, let there be. Vishvasa, of the entire universe. Kala, the envious, almost everyone. Prasiditam, let them be pacified. Jayantu, let them consider. Bhutani, all the living entities. Shivam, auspiciousness. Mita, mutual. Diya, by their intelligence. Mana, the mind. Cha, and. Bhadram, calmness. Bhajatat, let it experience. Adhoksaja, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is beyond the perception of mind, intelligence, and senses. Aveshyatam, let it be absorbed. Na, our. Mati, intelligence. Api, indeed. Ahetaki, without any motive. Translation. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. Please. May there be good fortune, throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The following verse describes a Vaishnava. Vanchakalpa tarubhishya kripa sindhubhyevacha paditanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Just like a desire tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father, Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavatam are meant for persons who are completely free from envy. Parama Nimatsaranam. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Kala Prasidatam. May all the envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings and can think of others' welfare. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manasya chabadram bhajatad adhoksaja. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Nrsingadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Nrsinga, Hridaye Nrsinga. Let Lord Nrsingadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean, so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from him. Even pure, nishkama devotees pray for some benediction, as instructed by Sri Chaitanya in his Shikshastika. Ainanda Tanuj Kinkaram Paditamam Vishvame Bhavambodo Kripaya Tavapadavankaya Stitaduri Sadrisham Vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Jamani Jamanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Ahitakritiye. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. When Prahlad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narasingaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord. But because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Swasti Ashtu Vishvashya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. Prahlad Maharaj thus requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. According to Chanakya Pandit, there are two kinds of envious living snakes. One is a snake, and the other is the man, like Hiranyakashipu, who is by nature envious of everyone, even of his father or son. Hiranyakashipu was envious of his little son Prahlad, but Prahlad Maharaj asked a benediction for the benefit of his father. Hiranyakashipu was very envious of devotees, but Prahlad wished that his father and other demons like him would give up their envious nature by the grace of the Lord and stop harassing the devotees, Kala Prasadita. The difficulty is that the Kala, envious living entity, is rarely pacified. One kind of Kala, the snake, can be pacified simply by mantras or by the action of a particular herb. Mantra, tros shadi, vasa, sapa, kalakena, nivayate. An envious person, however, cannot be pacified by any means. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that all envious persons may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. If the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, and if, by the grace of Krishna, everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious people will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, Shivam mito diya. In material activities, everyone is envious of others, but in Krishna consciousness, no one is envious of anyone else. Everyone thinks of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says that everyone's mind may become gentle by being fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna, Bhajatad Adhoksaja. As indicated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravinda Daya. And as advised by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 1865, Man Mana Bhavamad Bhakta. One should constantly think of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one's mind will certainly be cleansed. Chitadapanavarjinam. Materialists always think of sense gratification, but Prahlad Maharaj prays that the Lord's mercy will change their minds and they will stop thinking of sense gratification. If they think of Krishna, always, everything will be all right. Some people argue that if everyone thought of Krishna in that way, the whole universe would be vacated because everyone would go back home, back to Godhead. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is impossible because the living entities are innumerable. If one set of living entities is actually delivered by the Krishna consciousness movement, another set will fill the entire universe. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksharan Manitam Jena Tasmachi Namo Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhagadamayam Dadati Swabadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikalpat Rubhyascha Kripat Sindhubhyevacha Haritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. So, Srila Prabhupada starts by saying the famous prayer that we all say in the morning, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, just like a desire of Vaisnava can fulfill the desires of everyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. So, Srila Prabhupada's really qualifying what is a devotee, an actual devotee, one who's non-envious, whose intention is always the welfare of others. Even if that person is an aggressor or is envious of him, still he's praying for that person's change of heart, as Srila Prabhupada refers to it. There needs to be a change of heart. We had Mahatma Prabhu come a few years ago and he did a forgiveness course with us, and he started by saying transformation, change of heart, isn't necessarily due to accumulation of information. Sometimes a person can be in a really dramatic accident and they undergo a severe shock or traumatic experience, and that causes a change of heart. So accumulation of knowledge is useful. There's sambandha, then there's abhidaya, and finally there's prayojana. So the sambandha stage is we accumulate the information. But the accumulation of the information has to culminate in transformation of the heart, a change in heart. And so the devotee that's had that change in heart, immediately his next intention is, how can everybody else get the same change of heart? Because life is so much more wonderful now that I'm not experiencing the same selfishness and I want to help others. This is actually the highest pleasure, the highest bliss. I know that people are miserable because they're not experiencing this, so I want them also to have it. So the verse is a prayer similar to that one that we sing sometimes in our mantra that we were doing on Saturday nights, mantra kirtan, where we're wishing for the welfare of all living entities, sarvabhutanam. So this is the intention of the actual devotee, and we may be thinking, well, I don't really feel like that so much. So then this is the precursor for a change of heart. The precipitation of the change of heart is it's invoked. Suddenly we realize, well, actually, I should be feeling like this, and I'm not. So I need to get a change of heart. And a devotee can pray like that, although the devotee wants to render a motivated service. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada is saying that a devotee will always ask for a benediction when he's glorifying the Lord. So that this is a wonderful benediction to pray for. Rupa Goswami refers to the wonderful transformation of heart when he's glorifying the holy name. Krishna nama charitadi sitapi vidya pitopa taptarasanajan narochikanu kinvadarad anudiram kalasheva justus sadvikramad bhavati tadgala gada mula hantri. So mula is the root, and hantri is rooted in the heart. Mula hantri, it's uprooted. So this change of heart is when all the bad things are uprooted. And he says it's wonderful that simply by carefully chanting the sweet name every day, even though nothing tastes sweet for the person who has an envious heart, who's afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, then a natural relish will awaken. And when the relish awakens, like when somebody has jaundice, you know when they're getting well, because the sugar starts tasting sweet. So I remember when I was a kid, my mother had all these various bottles, and I worked it out that the one that tastes the worst must be the one that's doing me the most good. So we used to have to take this medicine every night. It was in a big brown bottle, and it had cod liver oil in. And it even felt disgusting. It was all like kind of slimy, and it was really fishy and horrible. But she used to make us take this, and so it seemed to make me feel healthier afterward, but it wasn't very pleasant at the time. It never actually got to the point where it started tasting sweet, actually. But with the holy name, that change of heart, you'll know the heart is changing when the name tastes so sweet that you have to put your bead bag down with tears in your eyes. You're so sad to see the bead bag go. Not, I finished my rounds. I won't be seeing that again for 24 hours or 22 hours. So that's how we know that the heart is starting to change. And of course also that our intention is different, that we are concerned. Other people may be horrible and nasty to us, And we're not thinking, like when I first heard of karma, I was thinking, well, this is really good, then you just have to wait. And the person that's really annoyed you will fall down a manhole. You just have to wait, And then when it happens, you can kind of laugh and say, serves you right. But it's, a devotee is, when somebody does something wrong, then he's concerned because he's thinking that person is going to suffer for the way he's behaved, and he's behaved that way on my account, and somewhere I've had something to do with it, and I don't want to cause anyone any suffering. I want to try and bring auspiciousness. And Satchidananda Swami explains in his book called The Living Name that when you're chanting purely and nicely, then all your relationships start to become improved. All the areas of your life where you maybe have some problem with this one or that one, if we can focus on chanting, and that's what it's saying, isn't it, towards the end? It's saying, let us engage in service, and by engaging in this service and achieving this peaceful, pure state of consciousness, then everybody, not only the immediate people, but everyone in the entire universe has that effect. It's very, very, very auspicious. There's somebody just now, I'll mention this to you later, somebody wants to donate a pyramid, and it's supposed to give off an energy for 50 miles. So this may be a bit over-optimistic, but the nature of consciousness is that it can affect not only those in the immediate vicinity, the people that you know, but it can affect everything in the entire universe. So any questions or comments on that?
Interesting point that the solution for the envious people to be satisfied is we engage in the Lord's service.
Yeah.
It shows you that there's the origin of the root of their envy is being disengaged from the service of the Lord.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's two things. There's jealousy and envy. Jealousy is just, I wish I had a car like that. Envy is, why has he got that car? It should be me that gets the car. He doesn't deserve that car. Let me drag him out the car and give him a bicycle, and I'll take his car off him. So that's envy. It's like jealousy with a kick in it. I want that, and I want to harm you because the fact that you've got it is disturbing me. That's quite nasty, isn't it? Quite insidious. Envy. Yes, Shivani.
I just wanted to ask a question at the bottom. It said that if everyone goes back to Godhead, then the same thing will just happen. There'll be more. There must be more.
Well, the point is for them anyway. Like one man was throwing starfish into the sea because they'd all been washed up, And a guy came up and he goes, "Why are you doing that? This is millions of them. It's not going to make any difference. You're just chucking a few back in the sea. What difference is it going to make?" So he picks up a starfish and he says, "Well, it's going to make a difference to him." And then he threw him back in the sea, So for the individual, it's also explained. There's a quote in a book called "Preaching is the Essence," and Vasudev Dutt is explained. Haridas Thakur is explaining that Vasudev Dutt wanted everyone in the entire universe liberated. So Lord Chaitanya just immediately vacated. But then the universe was again occupied with fresh jivas that were sitting in comatose in the Mahatattva. So there's one material body, one blade of grass, but there's hundreds and thousands of living entities waiting to take birth, and they have to wait in stock. So as you vacate, just like in a prison, if you had a really, really bad city and the people were really, really bad, you'd maybe not have enough room in the prison. So you put them in the freezer. You say, when the prison's empty, then we'll throw you out and you can go in. But right now it's just jam-packed. So the Mahatattva is the unmanifested, or the Pradhan, the unmanifested elements. And inside those elements, in a void state of consciousness, is the living entities. Shishikonitai Maya Pashashiki Jai. And it's hard to count. In one sense, we're dealing with unlimited when we say the material world is 1/4. It's like it's a dimension where there isn't dimension. So we just know it's unlimited. There's unlimited amounts, and because those living entities are being delivered, then Krishna is very pleased. He sees this flow of jivas coming back to him, and he's really, really happy. And at the same time, he's concerned for the fresh ones that are falling out of the spiritual world and going into the material world. So that's going on all the time. So even if you clear out the prison, there's a fresh batch in there straight away.
You see, when we take the devotional service. So we're aiming for the highest good, is auspicious for the whole universe. But at the same time, like, initially we will sort of, have to cut relationships, or oftentimes just temporarily, while we're on the path, it doesn't seem so auspicious until we get to the higher goals. How to sort of, keep focused on what we're doing is actually the best for everyone.
Well, auspiciousness, it may be auspiciousness is an acquired taste, and we are not always able to appreciate. In hindsight, we can appreciate something that was auspicious for us. Like the king had his finger cut off, and the Durga worshippers wouldn't put him in the pot for sacrifice because he was incomplete. But at the time his finger was cut off, it was very inauspicious for the king. And then later on, the king realized if he'd had the top of his finger on, he would have been cooked in the pot. So he was really, really happy. He wasn't happy at the time, but on reflection and hindsight, he was happy. So that's why you have to be patient sometimes, because receiving Krishna's mercy is an acquired taste. And it also takes time to assimilate that it was mercy, because at the time it doesn't seem like it. It seems unpleasant. And if it's somebody that's pulling himself out of the material world and he has relationships which is the association of people that are dragging him back into the material world, then he has to first of all save himself. Prabhupada said the highest principle is to save others, and then higher than that is to save yourself. So it's nice to be drowning with everyone and trying to help them, and then you go down with them and you say, he was a really nice guy, wasn't he? He could have got out, but he stayed with us and we all drowned together. But that doesn't really help anyone, apart from the fact that they put on your tombstone, he was such a nice guy. But if you want to be a really nice guy, then you push everybody else out the way, you get on the bank, you grab a rope and you throw it and you pull everybody else out. That's how you save. So you save yourself, and then you can. They say the same with the airplane, don't they? Before you put anyone else's oxygen mask on, get your own on, because you're going to be of no use if you've suffocated. So sort yourself out, and then go and help others. You see. So once we become a little bit fixed, then we can look at going out and giving other people the opportunity. But we have to be fixed up first ourselves. Otherwise, we'll just slip back. We'll just be attracted again.
So if we then have, mental concoctions that we can somehow save ourselves while simultaneously saving other people, it's maybe just speculation that we're trying to create our own process. We don't really want to fully surrender to this one.
Yeah, the problem is we have our own idea of what auspicious is. So we try to impose our idea of what auspiciousness is upon how Krishna is going to make things auspicious. So we have to leave it to Krishna to work his magic and not get in the way, not complicate the process by trying to initiate things ourselves. It's an art, actually, how to do that. That's why association of devotees is very helpful, because the devotees show you on a day-to-day basis how to depend more on Krishna and allow Krishna to work through the situation and allow things to take place rather than interfering, And really what it is, it's a kind of, we think we're God, and then we accept philosophically that we're not God, and we start performing devotional service, but we still think we're kind of God in a way, and we've got some kind of control over what's going to go on, and we can do this and we can influence that. So the best way to influence anything is to accept that actually it's Krishna that's the supreme controller. He knows past, present, and future. He's the expert judge of time and circumstances. So please use me. Don't get in the way. Allow Krishna. They say, let go, let God. Let go of your plans. If you want to make Krishna laugh, tell him your plans. It's much better to find out, well, what is the plan? And Krishna knows what the plan is. Part of the plan is you have to find out what the plan is, not try and come up with your plan. Because it's imperfect. It's very heavily compromised by conditioning and the influence of the material energy, the modes of nature. So what plan can we make? What effect can we really have?
Saying the purple power, let my mind become pleased so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. We bring peace to the entire world by peacefully worshiping the Lord.
Yeah, so rather than going out and trying to do things, we focus on, okay, well, I'll water the root of the tree and all the parts will be satisfied automatically. they'll distribute the water as it's. I mean, the tree knows better than anybody else where the water is needed. So rather than act independently of the tree, we just accept, okay, the tree is the source of everything on the tree. Let me water the root, and all the parts of the tree will be nourished. It's interesting how it works because it's very mystical actually when you practice Krishna consciousness. Then there's a mystical effect that it has on everybody. And the longer you do it, the more you see how people are changing by you practicing Krishna consciousness.
In the purport in the first canto, first chapter, Srila Prabhupada says that detached branches cannot be watered despite all watering attempts. Therefore, the devotees make arrangements to connect people to Srila Prabhupada's mission in some way, so that they can actually receive that mercy. So I was thinking, it's nice how at Srimad, that's kind of our focus now, on trying to find ways so that people can feel comfortable, be connected, and then naturally they'll receive, they'll be able to be watered then.
Yeah, we don't have to aggressively confront people. We just have to attract them to the way of life, to the life. That's the thing as well, isn't it? I mean, if you meet somebody that's non-envious, is very peaceful, then they're very attractive. And attraction is a much nicer way to bring people along rather than intimidation, confrontation, aggression. You know, I'm going to show everybody how much I love God by how much I hate everyone that doesn't believe in the same thing, you know. It's like, it's not really whereas an actual devotee, and he's saying, you know, by being conscious, it's just a natural byproduct that if you, by accepting devotional service, you think of each other's welfare. So it's interesting. You could accept devotional service and say, "Well, I don't mind the devotional service, but I'll scrub the floor, I'll paint the wall, I'll peel the carrot, but leave me out of the being nice and thinking of everybody else's welfare." But that's part of the formula, part of the equation is that has to be there as well. That intention to help and benefit other people is part of just like part of the devotional service is to perform it joyfully, enthusiastically, with attention to detail, not just doing the activity itself, not just reducing it to, I clock on at 9, I clock up at 5, I painted 15 walls, I planted 7 cabbages, I've done my bit, get off my back. What do you mean, joyful, think of everyone else's welfare? I did my bit. Now Krishna can do his bit, you know. But that's also part of the bit that you have to do. You have to have that change of heart so that you're disturbed when you see other people suffering. And there's so many stories in Srila Prabhupada memories where Srila Prabhupada was crying because he saw how much people were suffering. There was one time he was looking at the boys eating food out of the bin in India. And he said they were Brahmins in their last life and they didn't arrange someone to feed their shalagrams, so now they are starving. And another time he saw these people playing golf. These old men, Prabhupada said, "What are they doing?" He said, "It's golf, Prabhupada." And he goes, "What is it? What is golf?" He said, "Well, what it is, Prabhupada, they have a piece of metal that's bent on the end, and they have a little ball, and they have this grass that's been mowed really, really short, so it's nice and smooth. And then they spend hours and hours knocking the ball to get it in the hole." And Prabhupada just started crying. It was such a waste of the human form of life. So that's when you have a change of heart. That's when you know your heart's really changing, when you can't bear to see people wasting.
There's an online comment by Laura. It says, we have a plan and we have been praying to Krishna to help us on our plan, and he gives us an aspect of what we have prayed for. but not exactly what we have prayed for. How can we know it's good for us and it's part of Krishna's plan for us?
Well, sometimes you don't know. You certainly don't know beforehand. That's why you have to continue on. You can. There was a nice. I just saw it recently. It was a devotee. Oh yeah, Vaisheshika was live, and one Indian devotee was saying they were asking Radhanath Maharaj, "Is it okay to ask Krishna for this or ask him for that?" And Radhanath Swami said, "The prayer is really nice, but there's just one thing at the end that you have to add, if you so desire." So I have this plan. I'd like to do this. I'd like to make 10 million pounds, give it to the temple, become famous, go singing about Krishna all around the world. Please fulfill it if you so desire. And along with if you so desire, you can pray, please give me the intelligence to appreciate why you have or have not fulfilled what I'm thinking is going to be good for Krishna consciousness. So if Krishna can give us that intelligence, Tesham evanukampatam, Jnana Deepena, the light of knowledge. If he illuminates our heart with the light of knowledge, then we'll understand exactly why he's done whatever he's doing, and we'll see that it's all perfect and complete. Incomplete and imperfect is because of our incomplete and imperfect consciousness. So if we achieve this consciousness that's being referred to here in the verse, then we'll be peaceful, and we'll be fully accepting that this is how the Lord wants to do. We may not see the Lord's face, but initially at least we can see the Lord's hand. Somebody was saying the other day, because Srila Prabhupada says if you do book distribution all your life, then eventually you'll see Lord Chaitanya. And somebody was saying, have you seen Lord Chaitanya? And I was saying, well, I've seen his hand a few times, seen him make some amazing arrangements. So that's what we're looking for. We can have plans. Let's make the plan to try and see Krishna's hand. That's a really good plan. And if that gets fulfilled, then we'll understand why he's doing what he's doing and why he's using me in the way that he's using me. I mean, Arjuna had his plan, and it wasn't Krishna's plan. And Krishna explained what his plan was going to be. And he showed him in the 11th chapter, well, this is the plan, and this is going to happen. And you can either be part of it or you cannot be part of it, but this is going to happen. So Lord Chaitanya has said everyone will know his name in every town and village. That's the plan. Now the big if is, are you going to be part of the plan, or do you not want to be part of the plan? So we're praying that we can be involved in the plan. It's a perfect plan, and it's already done, because that's the nature of Krishna. He fulfills all his desires.
The purport should have a verse, and he uses what sarpa. It's interesting to note that the word serpent comes from the Sanskrit word sarpa. And it's interesting to also see that in other religions the snake is a symbol of envy.
Sarpa. Seems from one kind of kala, the snake. Kala is also a snake.
Kala means black.
Salak snake.
Khala, I think it's in the purport, which means envy.
It says one kind of kala. Oh yeah, it is the kala. Oh yeah.
It's interesting to see it's been a standard representation of envy as the snake.
Do you know why the snake is inauspicious? Because it's led by the tongue. It's because it can't see very well, but it can feel the vibration. So we'll find its prey by putting the tongue out and feeling the vibration, and it goes over. So because it's led by the tongue, it's considered very inauspicious. That's why we say sarirara vijajal, because we don't want to be led by the tongue. Once the tongue comes into control, and then everything goes downhill. And then if you keep following that route, you end up a snake. But even the snake is not as bad as a snake-like person. It's interesting, isn't it? Srila Prabhupada's been quite heavy about snake-like persons, because on the one hand it's saying, we should be well-wishers and try and think of everyone's welfare. And at the same time, Srila Prabhupada's saying, you can't do much with a person who's like a snake. So the point is, work on yourself. Don't try working on snakes and trying to get them to be nice snakes. just work on yourself, and that will help the snakes and everybody else that you come in contact with.
It's interesting. In the purport to Untitled Chapter, Prabhupada talks about the snake can be tamed. Even a snake can be tamed, but an envious person cannot be tamed.
Yeah.
And regarding envy, Prabhupada told Hari Soy that everything can be used in Krishna's service, but envy cannot be. It just be given up.
There's a nice verse, I think. Maharaj, it's the whole theme of the book is how to depend on Krishna when things are going wrong. And his immediate prayer when things are going wrong is, he says, this is a really good prayer to say to Krishna. When things are going wrong, immediately say to Krishna, what am I supposed to learn? He says, as soon as you learn whatever it is you're supposed to learn by things going wrong, immediately everything clears up. And he gave the example, there was one person who was causing him so much disturbance, it was making him cry. The person was saying things which weren't true about him. And he became really upset. And he wanted to defend himself and attack the person. But he decided, okay, so Krishna, what do you want me to learn from this? So he just prayed to Krishna and chanted purely and tried to chant purely and be the person's well-wisher. And a few days later, the person came to him in tears and said, everything I'm saying about you is lies. And I'm so sorry that I did this. Please forgive me. And so then things were cleared. So that's one really good strategy that we can employ if we're finding some interaction with someone very difficult, or the person's very envious, and no matter what we've done, he doesn't want to give up his envious nature, worse than a snake. So, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this, Krishna? And then let Krishna step in and do whatever he needs to do, you know. Yet they say the biggest distance in the universe is the distance between the mind and the heart. So we all know it's a good idea to be non-envious and be everyone's well-wisher.
So we might think that we're not envious. How can we recognise that we are? Because partly the fact that we're into your world means we're envious.
Yeah.
We might not recognise it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we may not recognize that we're envious, and we may therefore, but we may like the idea that we're non-envious, and then we come to that crossroads, and everyone comes to the crossroads in their spiritual life where they have to decide, am I right, or are the devotees right? The devotees keep saying I'm envious, and I just can't see it at all. Maybe they're envious. Maybe that's what it is. Actually, maybe I'm okay. And that's probably what it is, yeah. At that point, you take there's a crossroads in your life, and you go down the road where you think you're okay and everybody else is wrong. So association of devotees means being open to feedback. And even though you can't see it, that's the nature of Maya is, we don't intentionally want to do things generally that are going to cause us harm. We do them because we've been caught out by our conditioning and the modes of nature. So if we're open to feedback, and then so says, Prabhu, that was quite envious, we can go away and think, wow, was it? Oh yeah, okay. And then we reflect on it and think, wow, yeah, that was pretty bad, So that's an amazing resource that you can access if you are humble. But you have to be humble. Yes, Pip?
So there are times where I'm seeing envy or maybe even harsh emotions arise in me, but I can also remind myself, what that is and how to maybe think more compassionately about the person. Now, would you get to a point where some of these thoughts aren't coming up anymore, and then these thoughts aren't there anymore?
Yeah. As you're making progress, then when we first come to Krishna consciousness, we have a lot of conditioning, and maybe more than we realize, actually. Like when you first start to clean a room, like this house we're doing right now, it didn't look that bad at first. And then there was one point where I was thinking, this is just impossible. It's like a tsunami of grease. And we were just trying to, and you clean one layer, there was another layer underneath. And I was thinking, I'll just do a fast job on the cupboard. But when you do a fast job, if you make the mistake of going like that with the with your wipe, then you realize how dirty it is. You think, I'll just put the grease back on because it didn't look too bad actually. But now that I've done that, it means I've got to do all that. And if I do that, that means I've got to do that. And if I do that, so then it becomes really overwhelming, you know. So it's not Krishna consciousness is simple, but it's not easy. The cleansing process means it's a long haul. Actually, it takes time, you know. I mean, definitely, Krishna encourages us with the halo of perfection from time to time, and keeps us going, you know, and realizing. But it doesn't come overnight. Generally, it takes a lifetime of dedication to achieve it. And along the way, you will start to feel different. The main way you'll notice how different you are actually if you stay and do devotional service for a few years and then go and meet your old friends, and then you'll see how much you've changed. Because it's very, very slight increments that we change, so we don't see it so much. But then when you've done it over a sustained period of time, and you go back to see somebody that's not undergone that type of process, you realize that person is speaking and thinking the same way that you would have been had you not undergone the process of devotional service. And then you can think, wow, this really works, you know. And so that can help you, that can encourage you. One of the problems is we want to hurry up the process. We want to speed up the process. So one of the qualities we have to cultivate is patience, is to just patiently and systematically and methodically continue on in our life. When you see someone that's given their life in devotional service, it's an amazing achievement. We've just been glorifying one of our devotees, and she's been in the movement now nearly all her life, and she's continued on, very dedicated. So that's very glorious. I mean, if anyone even makes it to 60, it's a big celebration, because just to make it to 60 is an amazing achievement. Just the fact that you're still alive with a smile on your face at 60 is like, wow, well done, here's a cake. But if they've done it in devotional service, it's just phenomenal, you know, to be able to do that. But it shows others that it is possible, that it can be done. And then if you're in the association of people that have done it, you can say, well, how do you do this? How do I get from here to there, you know? Quick one. We're over time now. Less prashadam. You have to have less prashadam this morning. Yeah.
In terms of like staying in the movement, you often hear you just have to stay in a struggle.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, things with envy, you know, to take out these anarthas, it seems that you have to work through them, and be willing to face them, and sort of get to, in some sense, it seems more than just staying in the movement.
Well, that's referred to, I don't know, it's back. Mahaprabhu was referring to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he calls it doggy paddling. But I don't know whether Bhaktivinoda Thakur referred to it as doggy paddling. But doggy paddling is when you're in the water and you're not drowning. You're keeping your nose. You can keep your nose above. Everything else is under, but the nose is just above. And you're not actually moving to shore, but you're just keeping your head above water. You're not going all out into mire and having wild parties. But you're not really making any progress, going anywhere. Just doggy paddling. So that's one thing that you have to watch out for. That you get into the routine of doing things and just getting up and doing this and doing that, and you're doing it in a kind of heartless way, then that won't be enough. That won't be sufficient. So it's nice to stay in and wear a dhoti and have tilak and be there at 4:30 and jump up and say Hari Bol. These are all really, really good things, but the real thing is not just doggy paddling, but you are making tangible progress. Your heart is changing. And then you'll feel very satisfied that you are making progress. You know.
Just like to comment on that.
Yeah.
It's a very good question, because it's not just a matter of confining yourself to an ashram for so many years and automatically everything of inauspiciousness disappears.
Yeah.
Movement, a couple of aspects. The external aspect of it is that we're outreach, we're spreading it, and the internal aspect is there's still movement going on internally, that we're moving away from an anarthas. So there always has to be some progress. And in order to do that, then we have to keep on applying the process over a period of time. If we stop applying the process, and then time's just passing by, but we've stopped applying the process, but or just physically living in a temple. It's not necessarily that they're making advancements. So it's a very good question, because there has to be constant endeavour. Those who are constantly devoted to me, serving with love, I give them understanding by which to come to me. So that constantly means that it's not that, maybe like we were saying yesterday, Roger and I were thinking that after a couple of weeks maybe we would become a pure devotee, and realise it was going to take a lot longer. So the constant endeavour and applying the process, keeping everything which is favourable for Krishna consciousness in your life and rejecting that which is unfavourable. So whether we stay in the temple, stay out of the temple, we have to accept that which is most favourable.
There's a change of heart that's been referred to. The heart has to change. When the heart changes, then it's when
I just want to make a comment on that as well.
He was really sound about this. He said that he had he's been a devotee for ages, but he had mental health issues he was neglecting for 20 years. And he said it's like breaking your leg and expecting Hare Krishna to heal that. It's not, you have to let go and go to therapy and address your traumas to progress in Krishna consciousness. So you can't just chant Hare Krishna and expect everything to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Then in the early days in ISKCON, Narayana Singh, in one of the memories, if somebody cut their finger off, they'd just say, "Hari Bol Prabhu, you're not the body, Hare Krishna," and the other person's looking for his finger, and kick it aside, it's nothing to do with you anyway, and just carry on, So, but now as we mature as a society, we're realizing that actually being Krishna conscious means being attentive to all the different aspects and looking after our physical and mental. In fact, I'm reading a book as well about mental health. It's saying it's not so much mental health that people have a problem with, it's emotional health. And because they're so disconnected from so many different things which can be helpful to them, meaningful work, the countryside, where they get some autonomy over what they're doing so that they can control to some degree, having meaningful relationships. If any of these are disconnected, then there'll be emotional problems automatically. So we have to, it's self-realization, which means you have to work yourself out. How am I going to get the best out of myself? And that's the art, actually, of working yourself out,
I think what's really important that is a spiritual master, because Prabhupada said, everyone in the two world is mad to some degree or another, so it's not that everyone has to go and get a psychological evaluation before they can advance in spiritual life. Advancing in spiritual life is to be able to practice Krishna consciousness attentively and maintain that. If there's something getting in the way, physically or mentally, we can deal with that, but we don't necessarily assume that everybody has to get some psych evaluation, because that's would mean that it's, the process is depending on that. At the same time, if there is some obstacle which is in the way, and there's some means of helping that, then we should take it.
Yeah, this person had struggled for 20 years. So he probably thought afterwards, I should have addressed this a long time ago. So that's the problem, is we think everything will go away. It's kind of irresponsible in one sense. It's a very kind of simplistic take on the philosophy, that I'll just do this and Haribo and everything will be okay, But if you have some problem, then that needs to be addressed. And we had an interesting conversation. It was a psychiatrist, and she was talking with Shiv Ramraj. It was interesting because she was a devotee as well, but she knew all the mental health is going through the roof now. It's such a big thing, and if you're capable of enthusiastically engaging in devotional service, then that will override everything else. If you're not, then you maybe need some help how to do that. How to get yourself moving. Sometimes I was asking also, because I heard one devotee say, which I didn't think was, which I thought was interesting, was you can't achieve pure Krishna consciousness if you have to take some kind of medication. And so Shiv Ramraj was saying, well, it's the lesser of the two evils. If you don't take it and you can't do anything, and you can take it and you can do something, maybe there'll be some side effect, but it's a much more minimal side effect than not being able to engage at all, So whatever's going to be favorable, we accept, and whatever is unfavorable. And like Prabhupada is making the point, discriminating what is acceptable and what is favorable and what is unfavorable is sometimes the job of the spiritual master, maybe the Diksha Guru or the Shiksha Guru, but somebody that's senior and more advanced who can guide us and say, well, yeah, I think you should, or I think you shouldn't, and then they can help the person, to engage more fully. The goal is, how can we engage as fully as possible in Krishna consciousness and devotional service?
The test of it also is, because Prabhupada says that the angry mind is the basis of material consciousness. So as we're thinking less of angry in mind and thinking more of Krishna and what Krishna's plan is and what we can do for Krishna's plan, then that's the sign of our advancement. And as the years go by, if we're still hanging on to angry in mind, then that will manifest itself in different ways and it will create different problems. It can come out in the form of some deviant philosophy or falling sense gratification, things like that. But if we're always trying to keep connected means that we remain connected to the parampara through the different authorities. In the material world, we think of authority as somebody to be avoided, but it's opposite in the spiritual life, because that's the person who's going to help us out in the kingdom. It's authorising us for service or activities is authorised and safe. Otherwise, if we follow our own mind and think we've created something new, there's nothing new to be created. Prabhupada, his only qualification is that he never changed anything. So if we just accept what Prabhupada gave us, learn to do that without changing anything. There's one question maybe comes from this, is that people say, well, automatically we make advancement. But automatically, does that mean to say we don't need to think?
Yeah. Shiva almost nails that automatic one. He does a whole thing on automatic actually in Srila Bhakti Chaitanya. And he says, automatic advancement is not an alternative to systematic study of Srila Prabhupada's books.
And it's automatic. He says if you do that, then it's automatic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Because they're thinking, well, I'll either do that or I can just do it. I'm not going for the automatic. It's like a button. You can press A, or you can do S for systematic. Well, that sounds like a drag. I'll tell you what, we'll go for A, and I'll just be automatic. But it's not an alternative. It's, in fact, the two buttons are together. When you press the S, the A goes in as well. If you do the systematic, then the automatic will be there. So that's a little sneaky thing that can come in. Yeah, assimilation. I mean, we've got all the answers. It's how to assimilate and implement. That's the challenge. And you need all the help you can get. And you may need to go on a diet and stop eating ghee and no yoga after 4 o'clock and some kind of counseling. That may be there to implement and assimilate. But the main thing is that. And we'll take whatever help we can get if we need it, And then the danger, like Prabhupada is making the point, is that doesn't become an alternative or a distraction, Then I'll just get into all my bark. They've got this thing, these batch remedies, and you take one, and it changes your mental state. And so if you're feeling really nervous, you take this, and then you're like, hey, man, what's the problem, So that's not really addressing what the problem is. It's like blowing on the boil, isn't it, really? Big subject anyway. But that's why we're here for the rest of our lives, because there's a big subject. And it takes a long time to. And as Sutapa made a really nice point the other day, we're doing a Japa Sangha. He says when the plane is flying, it's only on course 20% of the time. 80% of the time it's going this way, because the wind's blowing, so it shifts over, and then it's going too much that way, and then it shifts. Now, eventually it gets there. But if you were looking at him, you'd be saying, that guy's useless. Now he's going to Blackpool. Oh, no, he's over to Fleetwood. He's never going to get to France at this, So on a day-to-day basis, we're going off that. But over a period of time, we continue on. Eventually, we'll get there. We just have to stay roughly on course and take the... sometimes, somebody will give us a friendly reminder. The problem is when Srila Prabhupada says the cause of fall down is we lose association, we reject the association. As soon as you take the wrong association, then everything goes wrong after that, you see. So you could maybe take the wrong association of people that are professionally qualified and they're giving you all this advice and all that, but that would have to be attuned to the association of the devotees as to whether you would accept or not, not that they become an independent authority and then they start saying, no, never mind what they're telling you, you just do this, You need to eat some meat, that's the problem, and you need to drink some alcohol or whatever it is, Jai, Iskon Guruvrinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.